Brett Goldberg Sinkware. So we could evangelize QBO much more to our customers if we sort of knew a date at which feature parity would occur. In other words, if we were to be able to say to a customer, within 2 years, QuickBooks Online will have more or less the same features as QuickBooks Desktop, we could certainly get them thinking about migrating to QuickBooks Online. So, do you guys have a date in mind?
I can take this. So it's a good question, but I would take it from a different direction. I'm not sure that we need to do a complete something. Probably will get to a complete. Can you hear me? We're probably going to get to a complete feature parity someday, and we don't have a. Let me take it a different way. We are going to get there. The strategy is not just building our own parity with our own product. The strategy is to get you guys to help us build the parity. So if you're expecting us to build all the features and capabilities as we had with desktop, that's not the journey. This is not what we're going to do. So it's a kind of a chicken and egg. So we're going after the right apps that's on our platform, and the right apps will come when we discover the right partner to integrate. That's where we go. In some cases, we'll build. In some cases, we'll buy. But this is a journey that we're going to see ourselves. And I think that it will take about, if you want that time, I think it will take the entire platform journey takes about 18 to 24 months. This is what I think that time period. But you can start thinking about moving to that journey, to the online right now, or to wait 2 years or year and a half. I'm not sure what will benefit you. That's why I think that if I address the marketplace question, that's the challenge that we have right now also. How much to invest in desktop and make it expose it, because you already guys over there and you have customers over there, and how much really to invest on the apps.com and the online only. It's not a simple answer, it's not a simple decision that we are making, but we need to think about it, and I'm going to take these thoughts about marketplace and try to see what we can do with that in the Intuit. But I passed this, I came from Google, I was six years. Google, there is a very simple, either kill it or invest in it. And I think this is my approach. I want to try to invest big time versus let's just do a little bit here and a little bit there. I don't think it would be good for any of us. Just a more generic question. And
I'm Eric Pulaski with SmartVault. You mentioned that you were going to be building a new generation of services, and then your own applications were going to be built on top of those APIs, those new services. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about maybe the timing for that migration. Is that like a future new generation of QBO that would have a different sort of layer of abstraction between a new set of APIs, and how far down the road might that be coming? How long is that journey?
Do we have to rewrite our app again?
Yeah, no, hopefully not. No, we're not going to let you write your app. You know what, why not? No, we're not going to do that. The journey will take some time, and we're working right now on a roadmap internally to see how far, first of all, map the QBO, QuickBooks Online ecosystem, try to see how much with that we're going to transfer into the services, what the pieces of it. And we just started to evaluate the investment of that. Again, it's a journey that will take some time. I'm not sure we at the time because we haven't finished the roadmap for that. But the idea, yes, is to expose services that at the core of accounting, payment, payrolls, shared services would be essence of the integration into the platform. And the idea is that the APIs that we have today for QuickBooks, I think it's good. Version 3, QBO API are good, but it's still working, it's still built on the old stack. The changes will not require. We'll do, Ron is not here, but if he comes, he can answer more a little bit about the techniques that will take in order to create the transformation of the API into the new services. But we are moving, you're going to leverage that, but we try to make it a very simplified process. And I don't think that there will be many changes to the APIs. I think that to the rocks that you need to create.
From Daxter99. There are two limitations with your current apps.com API. When we pull the 1099 data, it won't allow us to pull the blocks number mapping, whether it's blocks number 7, 5, 4, 1. You allow to pull all the data, but not box number. Any particular reason or any future goals to allow to pull the box numbers?
So I'm curious, have you filed an issue with the tech support team, or is this the...
It's your API limitation, yes.
I know, but have you previously
Yes.
put the request in?
Yes, we did, our contact, we did raise this issue.
Okay.
And also there's a limitation on number of data you can pull. After 10,000, it times out. You can't pull more than 10,000 data. So some of the customers have large amount of data through API right after 10,000, no time.
So I know the APIs offer a way to paginate through all the data for when you're going to get large data sets returned. I think probably the best thing to do is to follow up on your specific issue, is to track down the ticket, where you said you raised this before, and then we can check on it internally. Like, in terms of very specific individual features, it's hard when we're sitting up here to know exactly where they might be on the roadmap, but we'd be very happy to follow up with you to track that down.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Daniel with SmartVault. Hey, Ronnie. My question is, I thought David did a great exercise for wanting us to all integrate together from a technical standpoint. I'm curious to know what you guys would do for those integrations from a marketing standpoint. So Method and SmartVault integrate now, and we don't have a way to communicate that out.
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, I was talking to somebody about it today. Very soon, you're going to see some marketing changes from Intuit, specifically when you go to Intuit.com or QuickBooks.com. Today, when you go to QuickBooks.com, you see a lot of product selling, right? Get QuickBooks online instead of subscribe here. We're approaching it in a much different way in the next couple months, very similar to what apps.com did in terms of just pushing an app to you, but essentially helping the customer find out what they need to do. So in that sense, you're going to see some changes where we're going to start addressing the visitors to like QuickBooks.com and Intuit.com by the type of company they are. And when you know that they're, for example, I'll just pick one, a construction company, well, these are the set, and we talked about the ecosystem, how it's more than just finance and accounting. The goal there is to say, hey, if you're a construction company, these are the set of apps that construction companies that use QuickBooks typically use, right? And then be able to show the ecosystem that's specific for that customer there. Okay. More than just the app card, but essentially on QuickBooks.com itself, right, where we start addressing audiences. And you can see as that's going to take place, then the subsequent sites that follow that, right, would follow suit, right? So if you're, for example, and I'm not doing any new feature announcements or anything else, but you can imagine that if you're subscribed to, for example, SmartVault, one of the things we want to show a small business customer is if you're subscribed to SmartVault and using QuickBooks, these are some of the other apps that SmartVault and QuickBooks users are using, right, and be able to essentially address it that way. Okay.
It's on.
This one's on?
Yes. Yep.
Greg Frazier, CPA. Can I ask two questions?
Please.
They both are related to the QBO. QBO version 3. There's functionality at the desktop level, specifically as it relates to the bill of material, and also as it relates to the multi-site inventory processing. That's at the desktop. That's on the desktop, but what's the game plan to move that forward into QBO version 3? There's kind of a holdup with some people moving from customers moving from the desktop. Question number 2.
Here, well, we'll hold on for one question at a time. So just to clarify, are you referring to QuickBooks Desktop, the product, or are you referring to the APIs themselves?
The API.
Okay,
and
there's
the API is not, well, the QBO version 3 doesn't have the features that enable developers like me to provide it doesn't have the bill of
Okay, so I
material
think,
functionality.
I think I got you. Let me make sure I translate this. So essentially what they're saying is the difference between the QBD V3 API versus the QBO V3 API, they're not the same.
Actually versus the SDK.
So the SDK versus the V3 QBO API.
Yes.
So the differences between the SDK and QBO V3 API, will they be matching? Will features get passed over?
And not even that generic. Do you have will the bill of material feature and the multi-site functionality, will that be part of QBO?
Bhavin, do you have any?
So you're referring to the feature inside of QB Desktop SDK, and when will the mapping of that be on the QBO V3 APIs? Is that correct?
The bill of material and multi-site material, yes.
Right. So desktop as a product and SDK as an offering has evolved over many years, and I'll be happy to find a placeholder for that on the roadmap, but as of right now, I don't know on top of my head where we can find the timeline of these offerings onto the V3 API for QBO.
Okay, all right. The other question is, it relates to the bank reconciliation. Really great feature there with QuickBooks Online, the ability to bring in those bank transactions. But as developers, we can't get to that. It would be great to be able to get to that.
So you're referring to bank transactions direct, like being able to pull bank transactions directly?
The actual bank reconciliations, when they're imported into the QBO, into QuickBooks Online, they go to a table or a file that's inaccessible through the QBO.
So we do offer this other API, which are not, as of right now, integrated with QuickBooks Online. It's called Customer Account Data API. It's available on our website. They provide you an ability to allow your small businesses to connect to those financial institutions and scan that data and categorize and aggregate that data. We are working, at some point, we will be offering an integration of those APIs with QBO, but I can't speak to the timeline of that either at this point.
Thank you. Hands? Next questions? I think I've seen hands over there a little bit. We haven't gotten over there.
Hello, I'm David, the founder and CEO of Expensify. First, I have to say, congratulations for removing the price from QuickBooks Online. That was amazing, big accomplishment, so there you go, that is really, really awesome. So my next ask, however, and I'm curious, first, actually, a question to the room, if anyone else agrees with me here, is that recognizing that the future of Intuit is QuickBooks Online, and the future of us all is QuickBooks Online, the present is actually QuickBooks Desktop. And as such, as an app developer, I would say the SDK is wonderful, but working through, I'm faced with this daunting question, and now that we're no longer using IDS, which is a great decision, by the way, but now I'm stuck with either the web connector or the SDK, and it's actually a big investment for a platform that we all agree is going away. It's basically a deprecated platform. And so now I'm looking for ways to minimize my investment in this platform while still getting the short-term benefits. So my ask would be, is there any way, recognizing that you have no interest in investing in this platform, that you can just like open source the web connector? Would anybody else find this really helpful? Okay, so some hands here, okay, let's pass it out, or, you know.
Okay, so I'll translate the question. So essentially, are we going to open source the desktop SDK?
I didn't give too many details. No comment. We will try. First time I heard about it, so let me look into that.
Thank you.
All right.
Cool, that's a great question.
Hi, this is David Kwan with Activate. Hear me? On one of your previous slides, you mentioned things to consider in the international editions, and one was UTF-8 versus ASCII support. Does that mean that currently the SDK, the QBO API, does support internationalization, and QB Online itself also supports it well? What is the current status of internationalization support, QBO APIs?
Okay, so to translate your question, make sure I got this correctly. For QBO V3 API, you want to know what's the status of it? International support, essentially, is what you're saying, for QBO accounts that are outside the US?
Right, like, you want to put Chinese characters in there, does that work well? Or bidirectional, Arabic?
So, in all the prioritized market that Lori listed when she was going through the slide, we have customers in QBO, the product, from all of those locations. And we are investing heavily in making it more globalized as we go forward. As far as APIs are concerned, the two key areas where developers have requested the globalization is in the currency and in the location service, or sorry, tax and currency for the most part. And those are available in the V3 APIs as of right now. And we do have developers, and we can get you the exact details of the developers who have tried this already, and they are in the market with their integrations, offering to people from different countries. So that's possible.
Mark Cruz from Cloud Consultancy. And speaking of marketing, the Pro Advisor is a trusted advisor. And the apps, we have apps.com, and the Pro Advisor has a service card, and the apps have an app card. Could we get on the roadmap where we can connect those two, that a Pro Advisor services this app, that app, and maybe called in some way that they're part of a partner platform. So when you see the Pro Advisor, you can see they support these three apps and know how to integrate them.
Yeah.
We actually, I've heard that request, and it's a great request coming from Accountant Council as well. And it's something that actually we took a hard look at because we wanted to make sure that the accountants were actually willing to have their expertise into that app. And I think overwhelmingly, it wasn't 100%, but overwhelmingly they did want to. So that is part of the new sort of what I mentioned about the web strategy in terms of not necessarily pushing product all the time, our product, but essentially helping our customers find the right app. And part of that is being able to find a trusted advisor, right, in their local area who can help them with that app. So there's no timeline that I can tell you today, but that is sort of the general strategy of what we're doing is putting more content on our site to help them sort of navigate through their decision. That involves essentially being able to call on professional help when they need it. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, one thing that I would add to what Ronnie just said is, as the integration experiences evolve on our platform, we will be certainly looking at the functionality where we allow advisors and accountants to try an integration as an SMB persona and experience it for themselves before they can endorse it and recommend it to their customer base. So that's certainly something we're looking at.
Mm-hmm. And there is sort of a rudimentary version of what you were just talking about today. Every app that comes onto App Center or apps.com today, right, gets reviewed by ProAdvisor, and we flag that. So there is a way, and the intent with that was, to essentially sort of give an expert's opinion of what this app is and what it does for your clients, but also to give anybody, a small business, looking into that app saying, oh, okay, this person wrote on this. Maybe this is a person I can ask other questions about this app.
And while we get ready for the next question, Ron Jones, our VP of Platform Product Development, has just arrived, and I know you've all been saving your hard questions for him. So we'll get through a few more questions, and while Ron gets mic'd and grabs a drink if he needs it after his delayed flight, and he'll be up here shortly with us. So next question, please.
Yes, we've been working with the platform for a number of years. Really only certified for the last year. We've seen a tremendous amount of growth and change. It's great to come here for the first time and see your vision of the platform and the true multi-sided market dynamic. Very excited about what's to come. Also, some of the feature roadmap visibility. I actually think maybe some of the concerns we have about QBD, transition versus abandon, could help you solve potentially more visibility. So communicating, to a customer about when their needs can be met, as opposed to saying they can't today. But I think all of those things are solvable. Our biggest concern right now is actually operational in nature. It's the, as the APIs grow, as the APIs get easier to work with, as the marketing assets get better, what seems to be lagging is is the operational aspects in terms of IP addresses changing, flapping over to different data centers, but primarily uptime. So whether it's App Center, IES, or now the V3 APIs, there's a significant, less than 3 nines, probably in the 998 or subpar level of uptime. And when it does go down, it's typically for hours at a time, 45 minutes to many hours, and notifications on average go out after. Like we know before you tell us. So I'm just curious, can you tell us anything about the investments you're making in resiliency and scale of the API itself?
Perfect timing.
I don't know why, I think it's Michael's time.
Put me in the hot seat. Hey, so first of all, thank you. Sorry, everyone, I'm late. I couldn't control the flight. They wouldn't let me fly it myself, and it was a few hours late, but I'm glad to be here. Thank you for commenting on the uptime. We know that it's been a little bit of a challenge recently. A lot of our infrastructure, if you look at some of our infrastructure, is tangled in with TurboTax, which is a behemoth in our business unit inside of Intuit. We are working diligently to detangle that so that we can get some isolation. But we're also looking at the code base itself and some of our operational procedures just to make sure that we can keep consistent uptimes. We strive for the 5 nines, and we'll get there relatively soon.
One thing I would add to this question is, no excuse for availability, and we are going to strive to, as Ron said, to get to the best standards. But current offering that we have is to allow you guys to poll our APIs and constantly request if there has been a change or not. We are actively investing in notification, webhooks technology, and at some point we'll be very soon. In fact, we'll be able to offer you that technology layer on top of every V3 object that we offer today. So you will not be polling our services constantly. Instead, we'll be notifying you when there's a change on the set of objects that you're interested in, which will, I think, handle the matter quite a bit.
Cool, thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura Fryer. I'm from Mavenlink. I actually have a few questions. I'm from customer service, so I don't have all the developer talk. Through the chat here. But I have a personal question. I'm in the support team at Mavenlink, and I get the questions. I don't have to kind of train some people on Intuit and working in QuickBooks. Wondering if there's a portal where I can tell them to go or kind of direct them. So that's the first kind of question there. And then the second...
Hold on, one question at a time. Okay, you answer the question?
Yes, so you're looking for a portal to point joint customers to so they can learn more about QuickBooks.
I end up like training them on Intuit, and it's kind of like, hey guys, this is, it's not my job.
But thank you.
Do what I can, but so that's kind of the first question there is just where should I direct them to get the most helpful help, I guess.
So we've been investing a lot in the care side of our business and building out in-depth knowledge base and a live community where people can go and ask questions and find answers without having to get on the phone and wait for an agent, where they can interact in real time with not only Intuit employees, but other people in the community who love to help each other, just because it's fun for them and it makes them feel good, and then they can get help in return when they're stuck on something. So that's something we've been investing a lot in, and if you're not familiar with the URL, we can track it down later and make sure that you have it, and I'd recommend leveraging that.
Okay, and I'm going to give you 2 questions, so make sure the next one is your best.
Okay, will do. Okay, this one's coming from our developers, so pardon if it's a little off. But so they had basically, they're saying they don't have a connection to Intuit when they have problems with the APIs. So they end up spending 5 times the amount of time they want to be when there's issues in the QuickBooks API. So they're wondering how to get a contact with you guys for that. And on the flip side for that, I also get comments from Xero. So a lot of customers ask me, do you have a Xero integration? Because they do have a lot better customer service for our developers basically to contact, so they can use their API. So our developers are actually considering the Xero integration. So So wondering kind of if there's an option for them to contact.
Certainly.
I
So-
can answer the zero part, like, don't even bother.
So it's my team that's responsible for developer support. So if something is broken and not working, I want to know about it so I can fix it. That said, we have a couple different ways for developers to get support. We also have a live community where people can ask questions that my team looks at and could be answered by anyone in the Intuit developer community as well. You also have the ability through the web portal to submit an email support ticket, which goes into our database, and a support engineer picks it up and gets back to you. It has one slight flaw that some of our responses through the automated system end up in your spam folder, especially if you're on Gmail. We aren't actually ignoring you in all cases. It's possible it ended up in spam, and so we're trying to fix that so that doesn't happen, but we do answer email support tickets that way, and they get tracked and escalated when they don't get answered. If that's not working, we want to know. And then we have people reaching out to us all the time through a variety of means, hitting up us on our Twitter handle saying, hey, can you check on this? Haven't heard anything. Sometimes that's a case of spam. We interact with people on Facebook, comments on the blog, events such as this. So you should definitely reach out to us. And if you have specific instances, let me know, and we'll go track them down.
Yeah, and this is something that we're really, really proud of, and I want to make sure that we're going to invest a lot on customer support and care, and especially in developer support. So anything that you can expose to us to do better in this space, I want to hear about it as well.
I'll let them know. They did say the V3 QBO is awesome. So.
Thank you.
Question here.
We have one in the front.
Yeah, go ahead.
Paul Jackson from Sierra.
Hey, Paul.
So there's a quest movement of QBO to desktop. That's started. I think one of your slides said that.
The other way around.
Moving all QBO customers to desktop.
Desktop.
No, the other way around.
Other way around.
Thank you.
So that's going to happen more and more. And we're already starting to see a problem. I think we should probably get ahead of. So when a desktop user goes to QBO, that breaks our integration. We have our integration going to the list IDs in desktop. So Bob Crenshaw is list ID 123. He goes to QBO, and Bob Crenshaw is now number 5. So we have no way of actually reconciling Bob Crenshaw other than trying to guess. So I think it's going to get bigger and bigger for us as time goes on. I think probably for everyone in this room. Is there any plans to make that easier for us and for devs?
Yes, so I don't think it hits all developers, but it definitely affects a good set of developers. And so the technical team has looked at the issue and come up with some ideas on what can be improved in the migration tool that is migrating the actual people that would allow your mappings to stay intact. I'm trying to chase people right now to get a commitment on a timeline for getting those changes made, but we are aware of that issue, and because it's going to be a huge barrier to migration, right, for both you and us. So we want to get that resolved.
I have a geeky suggestion. I mean, if you just had a field called migrated list ID.
Well, I think it's more than list IDs, right? There's a variety of fields where you're attached to some data, right? Yeah.
So migrated ID. Exposed, problem solved.
So once I get a concrete timeline, we'll get the proposal reviewed with a few of you guys to make sure it's going to take care of things. Very, very aware of it. Thank you for bringing it up.
Hello, my name is Stan. I'm not sure who this is addressed to. Toward the end of the presentation, there was some slides about global. And there was a list of things that a checklist of things to, mostly the development point of view, to make sure we were global ready, mainly for the 5 English speaking territories. Once the development checklist is done, and it's time to actually go to market in some of these other territories, the parts of our organization that are used to working with parts of your organization in the go-to-market, sales, marketing, etc. We now need to go to market with the Canadian or the UK or the Australian or the Indian counterparts in those other territories. And so do you have any counsel that you would give developers in how to partner with you in all the long list of go-to-market things. I mean, you did mention, for instance, customer support service. Service, one of them. There's a long list of other tactical sales and marketing things that the developer is going to be doing if they're going to really try to, in conjunction with QBO integration, go to these markets. Do we go to Mountain View and talk to someone in Mountain View about it, or do we go hire somebody in Delhi and London and tell them to work with the local Intuit person? What's the go-to-market?
I get the question. It's a good point, and we are trying to adjust as well to that. The short answer is go to Mountain View. Two people that can help you is Ronnie and Lori. And so we see challenges of developer going directly to the local teams and trying to get some support there, but then asking about the next country, and this is the team in Canada cannot help in the UK. So best to work through Mountain View. And we will help you direct and access the right people in each one region. Also, at least not get you spend too much time in duplicating your efforts in every region, right? Yeah. But we're building these best practices in my organization as well as we speak, right?
Yeah, Stan, from a marketing perspective, the way it works today is if you're going to any of those regions, it's our team essentially that looks at those regions, and we'll set up marketing reviews with each of the regional managers, so you have an opportunity essentially to tell them how to best market your apps, and then go that way. So as Abhi says, use us as a hub at this point. Yep.
Okay, show of hands. Who's got the next questions? More questions?
Hi, John Power, Who's Tools. I've probably got too many questions, so I'll try and summarise it a little bit, and you can answer whichever way you like. So it's later, we heard from Brad that QuickBooks is going to be opened up to developers, that basically whatever your developers could read, we could as well. I think you're still a fair way off that. Our current products, using the SDK on QuickBooks Desktop, we're business intelligence, so we're kind of more in the QuickBooks Enterprise space. We still can't get all the data. Your slides today have got a concern that I don't think, from right to leading up to what Brad and Dan said, Dan Wernicott made some public statements about January, about support and investment levels in the SDK, and your slides earlier today were kind of suggesting it was really just in maintenance mode, very little in terms of getting to new entities and things like that. And I guess just to quickly finish off, there's really no current marketing avenues for people working with desktop. So I'm open to whatever feedback you've got on that.
So you kind of want to specify the question to be a little bit more specific?
Well, they're all pretty important.
I get it.
Right,
so you're asking specifically about desktop
investment in supporting the SDK beyond just having it in maintenance mode, as opposed to killing it off. Because very clearly back at the Slater conference, there was a change in direction. We're going to continue to support and build on the SDK. What I'm seeing is some support. What I'm concerned about is, obviously I don't have visibility into this, but a lack of actual investment in supporting it. And a case in point, without trying to be too critical, there's been several releases of QuickBooks that have broken the SDK. And I can tell you out there, we've got heavily involved in trying to resolve the last one around your instance, find a viable solution. It cost us a lot of time and effort, give you a lot of feedback to fix that. That really shouldn't be happening. That's a testing, that's a quality issue about the SDK that's been around a long time. So it does concern me that the statements made in November and January by two very senior execs as to the level of support for the SDK, we're not actually seeing that on the ground.
Okay, it's a long question. Yeah. So we addressed a few of the desktop, I don't know if to call it roadmap, but you saw from the slide that we are investing less, we are fixing a few things, but it's not going to be a huge priority.
And minimal additions, right? Like the roadmap is not every single feature ends up in the SDK. Every single feature ends up in an API. It's minimal new features. So it's more than maintenance, but it is not heavy investment.
It's actually quite different to the statements that were made when they did my January.
Yeah.
That is different.
It is different.
I mean, Ray basically
I'm not sure if
says-
this is a statement right now, but I'm just giving you the fact of where we're putting our resources right now. We're looking on SDK requirements. We're adding some of them to the request, and the desktop team, PD team are still investing a little bit, but the goal is to try to at least stay on par with market request, but still continue with the shift to the online.
I think the thing we're seeing as well is that our desktop base is migrating even faster to QBO than it was when those statements were made 6 months ago or 8 months ago. So we're seeing our customer base move faster to the online market, and so we are adjusting investments to match that.
I understand the marketing dynamics around that, but I think it's probably true to say, closer to the pointy end of your pyramid, you're talking premier or enterprise customers, they're less likely to be migrating to QBO today. There's still gaps in functionality that...
So hold on a second, we're trying. It's a good discussion. I think a lot of people are trying that, and we cannot answer all. But you can understand the direction that we're going. I agree about the Premier and the enterprise parity is not there yet. So this is the area that we try to see how we can take a migration process. How can we build a migration process that can help Premier and enterprise, more desktop customers to move into online. So we're going to expose features as we see the migration, the roadmap going, right? So it really depends on more migration versus build on the SDK to do new things that are not necessarily relevant or not part of the roadmap, right? So if you take your customer base and you try to think about, I want to try to get into QuickBooks Online, and the journey for that will have 1, 2, 3, 4 areas that we need to develop on the SDK. That's probably the thought process that we should do.
Yeah.
Ron, you want to say something?
No, I definitely, and thank you for the comments. I took a mental note. I'm gonna go back and talk to the desktop team. So when we do releases, we should never break you. It is a matter of regression testing, and I don't know what happened in that particular instance, but I'll make sure that we double down on regression testing so that we don't break you. That said, I think the future and what you're hearing is we're putting our money, more wood behind fewer arrows. We're really leaning into online, and we hope that all of you are leaning into online with us, and that's the direction that all our customer base is leaning in as well. So I think we can make a better product if we invest even more in the direction in which we're going. That said, we shouldn't break you, and so I'll go back and take a look at that.
All right. Brian Sweat with Activate, or Alterity. We are currently working with QuickBooks Enterprise, and we've been watching QuickBooks Online for a couple of years, and we've also we had an online app in the first version, and IPV. We were the first native app along with a lot of my folks using QuickBooks. Anyways, we are currently looking at a desktop app, a little controversial, but a desktop app that integrates with online apps such as QuickBooks Online. We've already integrated with another online accounting product, and we found that some of our companies do like desktop apps for the warehouse, and have, not just desktop, I shouldn't use that term, native apps on mobile devices, but there will be the configuration and the database for ours will be on our own platform with desktop access as well. It's a transition for us, very much desktop developers. The question I had, and there was some unclear back to Sleater last fall, what will the marketing be like for an app that will not be available through a simple sign-up, sign-in process? So if we're not a web app, will you list us on apps.com if it is something you still have to download and purchase directly from us?
But it connects to QBO?
It would be, yeah, it would connect to QBO using the V3 API, but it would be a locally installed app on their desktop.
And it would...
I think there was, the comment we heard before was that there was a chart, which we don't, see today, but we had the 4 columns, and you said desktop apps that integrate with the new online web services would not be marked on apps.com. Is there any change on that? Or?
So I think as we look at apps.com, we welcome lots of different types of apps that use the QBO REST API. So I know there's at least one and likely more apps that are mobile only. Like they don't have a dedicated SaaS portion that you would go log into, right? It's a mobile app, despite the fact that we don't have a dedicated mobile SDK, right? They wrapped all the REST calls and did it from a mobile app, and that app is available on apps.com. So, you know.
So you will, okay, so
yes.
just promote it, no problem.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that.
So as long as the app is making the call to the QBO services API and the authentication is for the QBO login identity, certainly.
Yeah, I think, Brian, I think what you can take out of this is that our goal is essentially to help our customers find the apps in the ecosystem that works for them. So if your apps integrates with QuickBooks, right, that's something that we want to expose to our customers. I haven't heard this specifically request, but you guys, you and I can take it offline.
We're just still.
You're doing it.
Still haven't done it. Well, we're doing it. I guess I can say.
Yeah, so I guess I'll do another plug for office hours if you want to sit down with someone on the team tomorrow and walk through what that integration might look like in that particular use case. That would be a great use of their time tomorrow.
Ron, I saw your hand up. You still have a question? Okay, wait for the mic.
Hi, my name's Lon Ornstein with Living Business Online. So we hear that people are rushing from QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online. There are no QuickBooks Online guys over here. When I read the LinkedIn forums and some of the other forums of the pro advisors, one of the biggest things they say is, there's no way we're moving any of our people to QuickBooks Online until we can save a file and then restore it if we screw it up. You guys have a great idea. We'll take all the functionality in QuickBooks Desktop that's not in QBO, and all of us developers are going to make a bunch of money and they're going to buy our stuff. But when I read the pro advisors, they have no interest in QBO. Partly because of some features that are missing, and partly because they don't understand it. What if you guys are wrong? That's my question. How long are you going to wait? Or how long are you going to make us wait? Until you say, hey, maybe this wasn't such a great idea, they're not going to move to QBO. They're not going to go spend a whole lot more money to buy what they already have that they already paid you for.
Well, we might be
Just plain devil's advocate here. Thanks.
Quick question. Do you want an answer?
Yeah.
We don't think we're wrong. Hey, Matt.
One second.
Sam Saab with Results here. I don't think you're wrong either about the QBO. The future is very clear that it's cloud-based. That's where the direction is. Being able to provision a system in minutes, that satisfaction of being up and running right away is fine. But you're dealing with vendors in this room that have to answer to our existing clients. Your own numbers, 5 million, less than $1 million of QBO means you're ignoring over 80% of your client base, and we're the vendors answering to them. You're not in the room, and we have to address them. We are investing, and we have committed as partners to Intuit. You've taken the Intuit marketplace, which is where most of our marketing has come in. That's where people are using your system. We're going and looking for add-on solutions for CRM and other things to allow them to do more with your system.
So let me address.
No, let me finish my question if you don't mind. I appreciate your answer. I'm looking forward to it. I want to make sure that it's very clear up here. I see the vision. I see where you need to go. Everybody has to have a roadmap. We have a vision too. We build desktop and mobile. We have a full mobile product with picture taking and signature taking. We get it. Every single device has to be able to connect the data. We're with you on that. But we need to get there without leaving or giving them the impression that we're leaving them behind. Right? There's a little strong argument here by saying, look, if we turn the desktop, if we really hurt the vendors, really make it difficult, either they go out of business.
I'm just going to pull you in the direction to try to get to the question,
get them
please.
there. I think that's the wrong strategy. The question is, are you going to pay attention to the desktop vendors that are trying to work with Google now?
Okay, so
And give us a market.
okay, let me answer both of you and all the question about desktop. And at least you are in agreement with the vision and the direction. So that's good. We are, if you got a feeling that we are ignoring desktop, I think there is the details that I need to understand. Right? If you're trying to get support for desktop SDK, you should get it. Right? If you're trying to think about feature that will get you parity, you know, and to get into the journey to QBO, probably would be investing less on that. That's part of the movement. You can't just do, we have limited resources, you can't put everything, and then let's see what will happen. Maybe, like a gentleman said, we were wrong, but I guess we are thinking we're not wrong, this is the direction that we need to take. But we are not going to ignore the desktop, and we are not ignoring desktop. The probably is actually the detail, definitely the details for us to understand what part of support, or what part of capability that we need in order to get the journey easy. And this is what I'm hearing. And I'm open to that, and I want to hear that. So what we'll do, probably we have a few hours later, we have tech, we have office hours. Let's get a little bit more detail, specific about what is, because I think that if we talk generalities, I don't think we'll get any understanding. Let's get specific and try to see if we can do something that can help us with the roadmap. So we're not going to ignore, we just need to understand what are these changes. Okay, so that's my promise, but you also need to understand our direction. And I want you to understand that we need to do the changes with us, right? So get to your base, get to your migration, and basically come to us and say, we have a migration plan, this is what it will take. That will be, a lot of ears will be open to that. And we have many people in the desktop organization that their entire, what they do day to day is the migration plan. And I keep teaching that migration to desktop developers is the best course of action. Okay? So let's do it. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah. So I might have missed the first half. Again, I was trapped on a plane, but if you guys got the impression that we don't have developers who are supporting you or on desktop, let me just expunge that from your mind. We have hundreds of developers who are working on desktop in the organization, so it's not that. But we do want people, and we are leaning the bulk of our investment, but we have thousands of developers, right? So the bulk of our investment is online to get it up to parity, to handle the huge scale that we have. And we know too, I used to run a business for a different company that was on desktop, a legacy-based system. Sometimes people are a little shaky with going to the cloud. After they get over those shakes, though, they tend to see all the benefits of it, and it's almost as if they forget about the reasons why they didn't want to go there in the first place. We don't know that when that's going to happen, but at that inflection point, you need to really be ready for it, and that's where our investment is going, because that's where everybody's leaning into. Mobile applications, like what you mentioned, connecting to the APIs and scaling, and being able to scale that API and scale the services so that they're up and running, like you mentioned before. Those are difficult challenges, but we're ready, and we're investing in those areas to make sure that we're ready for it.
Yeah, so Matt Russell with T-Sheets. Hey, first of all, I want to say this, that one thing that I love about what you guys are doing is that you guys are taking tough questions, and you're taking a lot of heat. And what's interesting is that you guys have been very passionate about helping all of the app and the developers that are in here, making them as successful as possible. So I'm serious, I want to say thank you first for you guys doing that, from whether it be on the technical side, all the way through to the marketing. I think that's important because not every partner out there does this, right? I know you're doing it to solve a problem, but so thank you for doing that. And the second thing is this, Ronnie, this is mainly for you, Ronnie. What's the future of apps.com? I mean, you guys have like further plans to A, promote it, and B, what does it look like for developers, and how can we leverage that?
Yeah. Yeah, just because I'm thinking because we're thinking about redesigning apps.com, and there's a few directions that we want to go. And I'm not trying to reinvent what the market is doing, so I'm going to follow some of the market practices of app stores, and even using technologies to help us with that instead of building ourselves. So, and I mentioned not only apps.com, it's the product experience, the mobile app store. All of this we're going to be thinking about making it more as an app store, where the discovery process will come from our other properties like QuickBooksOnline.com, QBO.com, will be launched as part of another project that we're working on. So we're going to promote not only QuickBooks, but more a solution with an app. So if we need this type of solution for this type of market, for construction, for professional services, we only have discovery through our main properties. That will drive you to the App Store to get the purchase or the final transaction on the app.
Are there any particular other stores you're looking at, following?
It's not just stores. Right? To me, what do you think? When you say apps.com, that means a lot of different things. And to me, apps.com is not just an app store. Right? My vision is that apps are inherently embedded in the entire experience, all the way from your web
Marketing experience on
.com, QuickBooks.com, all the way to your product experience, where you're inside the product of QuickBooks, you're trying to get something done, and you can't get that done. So apps are essentially, sort of prevalent there. In context, right, in terms of where the pain point is, and also what's right for you as the type of small business customer you are.
What's relevant.
Exactly. So apps.com essentially is
single app store that essentially manages all that content, but it gets presented
in a marketing sense wherever the customer is.
So it's really finding the right app, not really app store, but finding the discovery, targeting to the right customer. So this is where you just try to see us helping developers by bringing the apps forward in front of the right customer. So we get more insights. Part of the problem that we have with desktop is that we don't have insights, right? With cloud, we can have insights. We know what customers are doing. We know exactly what they're using. We know that they came with PayPal, so we can really focus on getting them apps that are relevant to their right experience. We know that they are billed, they know that they're using inventory. That's where we can actually target the right apps to the right users. This is how we can bring your apps in front of them. So that's part of the entire cloud platform vision.
As far as the promotion of apps.com though, or even for folks that aren't customers right now that don't know what their needs or themes are or have any relevancy, are you going to drive more traffic there? Do you have any plans to actually?
So that's why I don't want to answer apps.com specifically, Matt, because we might change it completely. So we're looking at this entire space of discovery, targeting, and the properties of how we host that, and then we bring it to the store. Hopefully, by early fall, we'll have a little bit more stories into that, and we'll bring.
I think if you look at QuickBooks Connect in October, right, we're bringing all the communities together. Now, here we have accountants and developers, right? But in QuickBooks Connect, we're adding small businesses, we're adding entrepreneurs, right? And the message is going to be like, you are all a part of the QuickBooks ecosystem, and that ecosystem means something to each of you, right? As a small business, you're able to find solutions that solve your pain points. We're going to widen the exposure. It's not just please buy the latest Intuit product and use it, right? Like, we are going to make it easier to run your small business and solve your problems with our offerings and those of all of our partners, right? Accountants are hearing that here. That message is going to be expanded in an even bigger form to small businesses as we go into QuickBooks Connect.
And one thing I would add to what Laurie's saying is, Intuit is known in the industry for customer-focused product development. We are bringing that focus in the developer platform, and end-to-end developer experience improvements are going to be the focus area for us. And what I mean by end-to-end developer experience is you guys, when you work with us, you go through these 4 different phases. The first phase is learn and explore. You're trying to see if it's the right fit for you and your business. Then you make your mind and you're willing to invest in us and you build your application. Then you want to figure out how, once you've built it, you want to figure out how to, as fast as possible, go to market and partner with us, and acquire more customers, which is where those 3 different experiences come to life that Avi was referring to: publishing, discovery, and consumption of your app by the small businesses of Intuit. And the last phase is once your app is in the marketplace, it's performing, and you want to be in the know of how well or how poorly it is doing, and you want to take steps for that. And these are 4 different areas in which we are going to look deeper into, and we have heard you for a lot of time. With new leadership and platform focus in Intuit, we have direction and resources to go make the difference and kind of implement the feedback that we have heard from all of you, as fast as possible.
Okay, just by show of hands, I want to see how many actual questions we have left. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 questions left. So we're going to finish in about 10 minutes. I want everyone to note that you have a survey form in front of you. Please fill that out. We want to know how we did with this session. We want to make sure we can improve this for any other conference, QuickBooks Connect. We're just going to get better by your feedback from this. Okay, and then there's going to be a couple more announcements at the end, so don't go until I tell you about the party a little bit later. So we now have a question in the back, I believe. Okay, over here.
Brent Goldberg from Sinkware. There was one number that jumped out at me more than anything else, and I was wondering if it jumped out to other people as well, which was in the market share figures for QuickBooks Online, only 5% of the users were wholesalers. And the reason why that jumps out at me is because wholesalers, companies that make and ship goods, for many of us are 80–90% of our customers. And we would, as app developers, we would like nothing more than to jump into the breach and to write the apps that will allow them to migrate to QuickBooks Online. But to do that, we need access to the lists and the entities that they have in QuickBooks Desktop. So for example, the salesperson list. To write a wholesaler app, we need access to lists like that. And so I just wanted to communicate that once we have access to the lists and the entities that we can access in QBD, there will be a mass migration to QBO.
And so that's feedback more than a question. Do you have a
Oh yeah,
specific question?
so when are we going to have
When?
I think the answer that Lori gave earlier is please go to the support portal and submit specific features that you want, definitely, especially when...
Or hand me a piece of paper later with, the request in your name, because I'll remember that there were 5 general requests for entities and APIs, but make sure I have it in some actual written or electronically written form, and we'll go chase things down.
Thanks.
My question is...
Can you stand up? I don't even know where you are. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Lee Church. I'm from Boston. And I've been a desktop developer since 2001. So my question is, and it's really in the form of comment, it's been interesting to listen to some of the comments up here by the staff. And I understand that you guys are here because you're part of one specific part of the ecosystem, not the ecosystem in general, and Intuit, not the ecosystem in QuickBooks in general, but because of a specific ecosystem that you're pushing. But when you say that there is continued emphasis on the desktop, and there is continued interest in maintaining the desktop, which makes sense since the number of users that you have is roughly 6-to-1 or 10-to-1 over the online system. And then you, at the same time, you turn around and say, well, we've deprecated access to the SDK, and we're no longer going to do anything new with the SDK. Those things just don't match up. You're saying one thing on the one hand and saying something significantly different.
So we have not deprecated access to the SDK. All developers have access to the XML SDK. What we have deprecated access to is the REST-based APIs, also known as IDS, that were made available for QuickBooks Desktop. We were very, reflective last year is that we tried a strategy that did not work well. And if you had started an integration, you were not being forced to move off that integration, but we weren't allowing any new developers to leverage that. We tried something, it did not work, but we have not deprecated.
The technology didn't work or the marketing?
The technology was not the right technology to do that integration. to do that type. Integrating desktop with cloud-based APIs was not a successful move for us.
Great. But where's the next mic?
Yeah, I just want to reemphasize that before the next question. The SDK is not deprecated. You can go and download that SDK, use that SDK today. If you have any questions about it, get with us afterwards. We'll make sure we can get it in your hand.
Yeah.
Here's my point. I heard a comment a few minutes ago that said, we're moving in this direction. And as developers, you need to be ready to go when your customers are ready to jump to this platform.
Yeah.
But over and over again, today, we have heard, when are you going to have this ready? What is your roadmap? What is your timeline? And not one of them has put a stake in the ground. But you expect us, as small businesses, to figure out what to do ahead of time without telling us what the roadmap is, what the timeline is, or anything.
So from the product roadmap standpoint, and I'm a product guy, and everybody sitting here has product-oriented thinking, and here's the comment I'm going to make. You bring up a good point about, investing in the future. Let's take a point of view just for a quick second that our strategy at this point was to go full-fledged on desktop. What we would be doing at this point that we have done before, we had invented QBO. We would be changing that product, evolving it for the need of the market, looking at the future and making that investment right now. Guess what? That's exactly what we are doing, but on a different platform. 3 years from now, we will be having a totally different conversation because needs evolve. One customer who is doing something today, their business is evolved and they want an evolved product. And that evolved product, they're going to find in the form of QBO. And so we are hoping and we are trying our best to make this conversation irrelevant in the years to come, where it will be, and we are going to do our best to educate people on that, your needs have evolved and so have our product, but it's a cloud-based product. And we are strategizing our platform with that thinking today. So I think this is as futuristic as it gets from our point of view.
So it is futuristic.
I want to make sure that we get to other questions. Like definitely, we've got office hours to talk about these things, but I know we've got at least 2 more that I want to address. Okay.
Good.
And so we only have a couple more minutes, so try to be specific.
I actually agree with you that sometimes things change, so you make statements and then down the track you need to revise those because the world changes and that's out of your control. So I get that. We're doing desktop stuff. Most of our customers are enterprise in the $1 million plus range. But we see the direction going to cloud. We're not in cloud. We see that. We get a lot of pressure about when you're going to integrate with QBO. We get a lot of questions about when you're going to integrate with Xero. Our response to Xero is, well, 40% of their customers come from no accounting software. So we don't see that there's much opportunity. Going back to things change, a few years back, Brad Smith said, QuickBooks Online would never match QuickBooks Desktop, meaning really enterprise in terms of functionality, scale, and the types of businesses that it's targeted to. The slide today said QuickBooks Online, $1 to $500 to $200,000. That's really very small and micro business. So my question is, looking forward, how do you stop people on QBO not leaving the QuickBooks franchise when they grow and they become successful and effectively they're outgrowing what's happening on QBO? What's the solution there? You're not going to migrate to desktop. You're not going to go back to enterprise.
So I think you see that like our QBO customers today, the ones who are the early adopters of cloud technology, the ones who are on the platform today are the smaller ones. And they were the first to try cloud, they were the ones we had the right features for, and that's where our QBO base is today. As more people get comfortable with the cloud, and there's a big and here, and as QBO evolves to have the feature set that those enterprise customers need, you'll see that balance shift, right? That median income range for a small business won't be 100 to 200K. The median will go up, and the range supported will go up. The average small business size will go up as well.
Can I jump ahead and save some time for what the man says? So there's really 2 possibilities there. You either build that functionality in QBO, or you build out an ecosystem of partners or the third party.
I think it's going to be a combination of both.
Okay, so what happens from a API type perspective when we want to bring in, we're looking at QBO, want to bring in a bit of CRM stuff, we want to bring in some inventory stuff, we want to do the whole enchilada. So how do you plan to address that?
Ron, do you want to?
Or are we going to be dealing with different APIs? That's a tough task, I would say.
Yeah, so today you have the V3 APIs, which if you're familiar with those V3 APIs, they're fine-grained APIs. We're going to build higher-level APIs. Also, a lot of our partners are building out their own APIs as well to dovetail in somewhat with ours. You're going to see us open up the platform even more. So Brad's statement, I think we were saying, you made that statement a while ago. That's very true. We're going to open up the platform more and more. There will be more and more APIs.
We're going to do one more question, and then we're going to have a little bit of a summary, then a couple more housekeeping items, and you guys can go. So last question, please.
All right, we're bringing it home. Hi, my name is Sylvia, and I am from Tally in Spring Ahead.
Congratulations, by the way.
New to the family. So one of the things that our team has been the most impressed by, on a positive note, was the immediate responsiveness of the Intuit team that everybody gave during the last leader conference in terms of V3 API. So that was totally off. So in terms of the positive thing, you guys heard everybody loud and clear and really incorporated a lot of the feedback into the V3 API, so thank you for that. Now, for all of this and everything that you heard today, so we now know the key to QBO adoption is really the evangelism and acceptance of ProAdvisor community and a lot of the other QBD community, in addition to the new kind of curated marketing website kind of experience. How can we all work together as an apps.com community to really have more of a two-way conversation with the ProAdvisors, with our QBD customers, to really almost hold their hand across the threshold? Because I think it's going to require a little bit more than a curated website. So what other ideas do you guys have in terms of interaction with those people?
What other ideas? I think there's several, right? There's today the ProAdvisor program that we're engaged with partially, and I think there's plans to actually engage them even further in different types of programs and stuff that we haven't announced yet, but we will. And we also actually really understand the fact that one of the best ways for our QuickBooks Desktop customers to migrate to QBO is that their what we call sort of front-facing app developer encourages them to do so. You know, we talked about the example that I often hear about and give is the concept of my auto mechanic who uses QuickBooks. I don't even know if he uses QuickBooks. He has QuickBooks, right? The accountant may use QuickBooks every 30 days or so. So one way to get that migration over is by having the system that's in front of his screen day in and day out and say, hey, I'm moving over to the cloud, and the best integration for my app is with QBO. Right? So we're essentially going to rely on you guys to help us migrate them as well, because you have the direct connection to those types of systems.
Perfect. That's what I was going to say. I think a lot of us that have already started to migrate some of our customers to the cloud, which is what we're trying to do anyway, can share some stories and come together. Because it's not fair to put all of the expectations on you guys. I think, like with the API and building all of this together, I think the bringing them over and education has to come from us too. Absolutely.
Thanks, and congrats getting on the platform. Okay.
So I just wanted to thank everyone coming here today and asking a lot of tough questions. First experience for me talking to you and like in that forum, and I know that it's a journey that we need to take. When I came a few months back, there is a lot of things that we needed to work on, and still a lot of things that we need to fix, and this is in process. You see a team, a strong team, that is built in order to support this community. We're not doing everything perfectly, but at least we are looking for some feedback and collaboration. A lot of things is about you guys thought, hey, this is the direction, we agree with the direction, but I really need to understand more specific about what's missing. I think the QuickBooks 3 API, the online API is a strong API. There's a lot of capabilities. What is missing? What are things that we need to do immediately to add to the roadmap? I want to know that. It will be important for us, for our product team, and already get some feedback, but we need to hear more. If there are missing channels, we're going to improve the channels to get more feedback into that. But from the other end, you need to understand that we're making a change, and change is difficult, and part of it is that we need your support. So sometimes maybe you need to pull us back a little bit, but we are moving forward, and we need your help. So we need to see how we can leverage your help in order to get to the journey together. Thank you.
Thanks, and let's give a thank you to the panel.